The Why News.
I used to watch BBC World Service all of the time because it had great documentaries and it had a lot of news about the roundup of the world's affairs. So that was very relevant to me, and I really enjoyed watching it. But I still remember the day when I felt BBC World Service really went downhill, and that was during the Iraq War. So at the time, there was this Iraq War dossier, which had been prepared in order to justify Britain's involvement in a war against Iraq. And that dossier really exaggerated the Iraqi military abilities. BBC reported on that. It was later found to be largely substantiated and correct, but the British government put a lot of pressure on BBC, and they were forced to apologize on international news, which I still remember watching. And I felt that after that day, BBC became even more aligned with the government and a little bit less useful as a news source to me. So it's been very interesting for me to see the rise in the last 5 to 10 years of alternative news sources from other countries. So today we have news channels from China, we have news channels from Russia, we have Al Jazeera, we have Telesir. All of these places are also broadcasting in English as a kind of international lingua franca. And the reason they do that is because they're competing for the attention and the sympathy of what I think of as kind of a globalized elite. So people who make decisions in business, people who make decisions in politics, people who are part of civil society, they want those people to be watching their channel and getting their point of view, which some of them even explicitly say, on their web pages or in their coverage, that they're trying to put across their point of view to people out there. So that's been a very interesting way to kind of compare information and get a wider spectrum than we were getting just from the Western media alone. Of course, another aspect of this is that it's part of what we in international law call the multipolar world, which means that rather than just having one sole superpower, the United States, which we had after the Cold War, we're seeing the emergence of other powerful blocs, particularly of China, but also to some extent, of South America, BRICS countries, in general. Um, Becoming more powerful, having more surplus capacity to engage in this kind of broadcasting, but also engaging in a kind of information war rather than just a military or economic war. So that rise of the multipolar world is something we've been expecting for a long time in international law, and it's interesting to see it emerging. I think that ultimately it's a good thing. It allows us to get a deeper perspective on affairs in other countries. It allows people to make comparative assessments of the news that they're getting, but it does cause a lot of tension in the fact that these competing viewpoints are often the sense of a lot of acrimony. However, I think we just have to accept that in a pluralistic world, that's going to happen, and that it's ultimately a lot better than military conflict, which is what we had before.